Hey, what's up, everybody? Frederick Pogue here. So, today I want to talk about what happens when an obscenely wealthy man decides he wants to get into government and then basically overreaches and how disastrous those consequences can be. So, in order to do that, we're going to reach back in history. We're going to reach back to ancient Rome, particularly the end of the Roman Republic. And we're going to use as our example a man named Marcus Licinius Crassus. Now, for those of you who don't know who Crassus is, he was part of what was called the First Triumvirate, which included himself, Pompey, and a man called Julius Caesar. You might have heard of Julius Caesar. Plutarch wrote about Crassus in his book called Lives, where he wrote about famous Romans. Now, part of the way Greek and Roman historians wrote biographies is, unless they were meant to flatter a patron, they were done for moral reasons. They always served as a moral example, right? That's kind of where we get this notion of, be careful that you don't study history, otherwise you're going to repeat it. It's meant to be a moral lesson. So part of what Plutarch wrote about Crassus was he was rich, but for the Romans, he didn't get wealthy in the right way. See, back then, how you got wealthy in the right way, at least for running for political office and getting respect from both the upper and lower classes of the Romans, was you did it through military campaigns. You went and conquered land and basically got more land for the Roman Empire, and you brought treasures back, which you would then distribute to the people. You'd save a lot for yourself, and your men would get paid. But you would, do public works, or you have a triumphant parade, and you would shower the folks, the Roman citizens, with gifts. That's just kind of how it was done. But see, Crassus was kind of a predatory dude. How he got rich was fires were a big problem back in Rome. And so what he would do is when fires would break out, he'd have his folks come up to wherever the fire was happening and say, hey, we'll put this out if you sell this property to us. And so basically whoever owned it was faced with, okay, well, I either let this burn to the ground and it maybe spreads and gets worse, or I sell it to Crassus and get some money, and every second I say no, it's dropping in value. And so that's how he got rich, was he became basically a real estate guy and through fire sales, very predatory. Now, he also, if you've watched the movie with Kirk Douglas with Spartacus, he was the guy that put down the Spartacus rebellion. But that really wasn't considered a great military victory. And so when this first triumvirate came along, Pompey and Caesar and Crassus, they kind of worked together to power share. But the understanding was at some point, somebody's going to betray somebody. And Julius Caesar and Pompey had much more virtus, which was manliness achieved through combat, than Crassus did. So Crassus says, you know what? I got to get me some military victories. I may be the wealthiest man in Rome, but sooner or later, Pompey, Caesar, or both of them are going to knock me out of the box. So I got to go get me some military victories. So he decides he's going to go get in a tussle with the Parthian Empire, right? There you go. They've been having issues on their borders. The Parthian Empire, for those you don't know, is modern day Turkey. He's like, I'm going to go get in a skirmish over there. What happens is he goes and gets in a skirmish and basically gets destroyed and killed. at the I think it's at the Battle of Carhae. And that's it for Crassus. Because, see, he wasn't okay with just being, hey, man, Pompey, Caesar, you guys do your thing. I'm good. I got enough power. I'm going to stay in Rome. I'm going to do my thing. No. He wanted to be the top man. And so the problem was he wasn't that good of a military commander, not on the level of Pompey or Caesar, not even close. And his men weren't as well trained. They weren't hardened veterans, because a lot back in those days, your legionnaires tended to serve with you damn near for life, because Rome was always fighting a war. And if you were a strong military commander, you were basically out fighting most of the time. Because again, that's, for political office, that's the best way you could make money. It was the most Roman way of doing things. So we kind of get to Elon Musk today and some of the parallels that he might have, or some of the things that rhyme with old Crassus. It seems like Elon's not doing too well since he got in the government and he started doing Nazi salutes and cozying up to the AfD in Germany and having this Doge thing and cutting government and basically just running around being a jackass. It's not looking too good for him. And while he might be the richest man in the world on paper, the big problem for billionaires like Elon is their wealth is tied to their stock price. They take out loans against that stock price in order to fund their lifestyle. And so if you have a sudden drop, as in the Tesla stock price plummeting, and you have Mexico now breaking deals with Starlink because you've basically accused the richest man in Mexico of being part of a cartel, whether that's true or not, and the Mexican president has to step in and say, no, none of that's true. And he gets so mad, he says, nah, cancel this deal with Starlink. And Canada's thinking of doing the same thing. And Europe is even thinking, the EU is even thinking about banning it because of some of the crap that you did in Ukraine when you went lights on Starlink and basically didn't let Ukraine with their drones sink the Russian fleet in the Black Sea. I think you might be overreaching here, Elon. There's a reason most people don't have a bad impression of Warren Buffett. Because if Warren Buffett has followed any example, he's followed that of Augustus or Octavian. Because when Augustus became the first emperor, he never called himself emperor or imperator or Caesar. Never did that. All he called himself was first citizen. He didn't build any palaces to himself. Because he was deathly afraid of getting knifed in the Senate like his uncle did, Uncle Julius. Warren Buffett's kind of lived a similar life. Even though Berkshire Hathaway has led to a lot of people losing their jobs and companies going under with some, predatory business practices. But, the Oracle of Omaha is kind of seen as this kindly uncle figure on the American scene. But not you, Elon. You may want to reconsider all these steps you're taking into Parthia. Because I think, like Crassus, you're headed for a bad end, my friend. But then again, what do I know? Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Keep the faith, defend democracy, and I'll see you later.